It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
Hey guys, how's it going? It's Tuesday, April 11th, and this is the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. We're on YouTube, so make sure to subscribe, follow us on SoundCloud, and make sure to support us on Patreon. So what is happening on this wonderful and amazing Tuesday? We've got current news from around the world, the practical word study, and of course, Provi in the media. All right, everyone, how are you doing today? Yes, it is Tuesday. It is a wonderful, wonderful day, and I hope you guys are enjoying the week thus far. Super thankful for all of you guys joining us here on the Morning Star Drive this morning or afternoon, evening, whatever it is. Keep liking and commenting. We see the likes that are constantly going up more and more, and we're getting some great comments from the community too, and I want to hear from you guys and see how you're doing. If anything, one of the most successful things we've done on this podcast is, my feeling is we've just built a good community. And people are very open. We're talking. The comments are great. And I think it's something that we can continue to do, for the rest of our lives. I'm hoping, that's one thing I really, really hope for is this podcast to take on a life of its own. This channel kind of growing into something where, like we have the Provi coming out, we have the comedy, we have like the prayer podcast, and we have all these different things that come out. And I'm really, really hoping that this will be something that can build this community more and more each and every week. And we can just make this into something where, it is what it is, just a great community of people who really, really love this history and just being able to go through the difficulties and going through all the things we go through in life together, right? So I am super thankful for everyone who is joining in each and every week, or each and every day, actually, right? Q&A Thursday. Q&A Thursday is, what is it? Yeah, Q&A Thursday is in 2 days. So, guys that have any questions, go ahead, drop it in the comments or drop me a DM. Any one of those will do. I enjoy it too. And there's a lot of people, I think you guys will be surprised at how many people think about the same questions. So when you ask it, you're actually asking not just for yourself, you're asking for a bunch of people together. So I hope it's something you guys will continuously do each and every week. It's always on Thursdays, right? So, I had this really great conversation with a friend of mine, and we were talking about this history, and we were talking about how different we are compared to the world. Like people in this, how different we are, right? So, we're so different from how the world does things. And I think the way that we think is it's so much more pure. And, sometimes, we're not like fully pure, but we are always putting in the efforts to be more pure and really amazing, right? And that really, and that's something that I thought about, because when I think about like everyone in the church that I've grown up in for the last 25 years, like the amount of effort we put in to be pure, spiritually, physically, mentally, like we're trying our best. At certain points we're not watching any media. At certain point, we're splitting the guys and the girls and stuff like that because we just really, really want to be pure in those areas. And it's something that it reminds me of a bunch of different verses that pops up in my mind. And it kind of makes me think about who we were called to become. I'm not sure if you'll understand when I begin to explain it. In Romans chapter 12, verse 1, it says, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but, everything is about the renewing of your mind. We're not supposed to be we're not supposed to be doing things like the world, right? Like how the world dates, like how the world gets married. The way we do it is different. The way that we see each other is different. John chapter 15, let me pull this one up because I don't know this one. I don't know most of the words by heart, but it's John chapter 15, verse 18 and 19. And what it says here is, Jesus says, if the world hates you, keep in mind that it hated me first. If you belong to the world, it would love you as its own. As it is, you do not belong to the world, but I have chosen you out of the world, and that is why the world hates you. And when I hear these types of verses, we're not supposed to conform to the pattern of this world. I'm not saying that we're supposed to do, we're supposed to break away from the world and do everything opposite to it. No, we're called to be people of God, right? And that has to do with our values, our morals, our actions. The way we do things is not the way the world does it, but it's the way that God does. And we were not called to follow the world in every manner, in every single thing that is happening, but we were called to be different and do things the way that God wants. And sometimes it causes a stir. Sometimes it causes discomfort to the people around us. Sometimes it causes us to be canceled. Sometimes it causes us to lose things that we have right in front of us. So, it really made me think a lot. It's like, we're a lot of times we begin to try to become too much like the world. You know what I mean? And it's not everything, obviously, right? We got to go to jobs. We got to listen to our bosses, everything else. But it doesn't mean we have to do the same things. Morally, we don't have to go out and drink with the boss. Morally, we don't have to, believe or agree with, let's just say, when it comes to those of us who believe in God. I don't know why it's such a hard thing to talk about gay marriage and what we really, really believe in it, because we believe in God. Like, I just don't think it shouldn't be such a tiptoeing thing because we're scared that the world will come against us, right? Like, this is the thing is, I'm not going to specifically call out gay marriage. That's something that the government can impose, and they can do whatever they want. But just like, like LGBTQ, stuff like that, there should be a stance that we take. We shouldn't be taking a stance thinking about what the world is going to react to the way that we say something. You know what I mean? Yeah, so like, even for me is like, if you got a moral, or, we're not going around hating them. We're not going around, trying to kill them or anything like that. It's just a matter of what we believe is the right or wrong thing to do. That's all it is, right? Just like we have morals and codes in our society where it's like, we all agree we shouldn't steal. We all agree we shouldn't murder. We shouldn't do certain types of things. But when it comes to lifestyle too, there is a way that God has intended for the purpose of creation. And I do think it's something that we do have to think deeply about our own lives. Like, there are some things, of course, just follow what the world does, and some things that are just quite like natural. But, like the way people, business works and stuff like that. There's some things that we just go with the flow because that's the way it is. And it doesn't really have anything to do with God's kingdom, right? It just doesn't. And there are some things where it has to do with what we truly believe, what our morals are, what we believe God thinks in certain areas. And we just need to do it the way that God wants us to do it, and not, compromise our faith. And I think that's something we really have to think about deeply. I think that's something that should be deeply in our hearts and our thoughts, is like, what? We're not called to be doing everything exactly like the world. And I bring that point up, like, one of the biggest ones I look at is dating and marriage. The way the world does it, it's not successful. And if you are successful, you're like one of the few. Like, you have, in America, you have a higher than 50% chance of being divorced within the first 2 years, which is pretty crazy, right? And, you look in Providence, the divorce rate is not 50%. It is way lower, right? We can rarely find people who've been blessed or matched. Like, it's so rare. We might know one couple, maybe two couples, right, in your whole country. We don't know that many. Right? And when we think about that, it's like, wow, it's so amazing that if we do things the way that God wants, then it's going to happen in a different and better way. The way we choose, the way we think about our spouses, whatever it is, it should be very, very different. And it's not based on, this person's good looking, this person's like this or that, but it's way more spiritual, right? When I look at that, I think about it, it's way more spiritual. So it's something that I think that we have to think about ourselves, who we are in this world, and how we live our lives in this world, regardless of how uncomfortable or, people might get crazy around us because we believe or do things a certain way. And that, for me is just like, that's a really good thing, is like, when I was growing up in the former faith, I'm not sure about any of you guys out there who are in the former faith, that was a normal thing to not be like the world. It's a normal thing to not do the same things. It's a normal thing to be better, to be greater, to change and make ourselves even more. We're supposed to be the light on the hill that everyone can see. We're supposed to be the people that don't belong to this world, but belong to the world of God. right? So, that's just kind of some food for thought I was thinking about after I had this great conversation with a friend of mine. But I hope it's something that can kind of stir your thoughts in your minds also, is how many things in our faith are we compromising, right? Just because we don't want to bother with a certain situation, or we kind of let things go. But I hope it's something that all of us will think about, pray about, and understand and do things in a wise way. All right, so that's kind of my thoughts I've had recently. Today, we also have Provi in the media, and I enjoy this segment a lot. It gives me a lot of time to research and such. And today, I want to talk about the 3 different types of people that leave new religious movements, or, the NRM, new religious movements is kind of now the proper way of saying cults, like not mainstream religions, right? So it's kind of like there's a difference between a defector, an ordinary leave taker, or an apostate. And there's a difference between the 3. And why do some people become apostates? And this is another article from Massimo Intravigna, and I hope that you guys will enjoy this one. And that will be the last segment for today's podcast. All right? I did put up the poll a little bit late. I'm sorry about that, guys. But now we are getting some people who are voting in the poll. And how are you handling the situation, Provi, right now? Right? So it's been like 3-4 weeks later. And 40, very surprisingly, people in good shape, like they're good, just a little bit of stress, but handling it well, calm and relaxed, is 73%. So 3/4 of the people have seemed to be adjusting and getting themselves understanding it much better too. So that is something that's kind of cool that I thought, is that everyone's handling it really well. And then you have some people still in limbo, not really sure what to think. That's about 18%. And then we have some other people who are commenting right now. So really thankful for all of you guys just giving your honest opinions and your honest situation. Remember, your names don't even pop. I don't even know who wrote each of these, and it doesn't really matter to me. But I hope it's something that we can, these polls are there so that we can think about our current situation. We think about what's going on, and make sure that we'll really, really be able to understand it at a much deeper and higher level. Okay? All right. So that means let's get into some music from member artists from around the world. And who am I going to start with today? Today I'm going to start with Rapture Collective. It's Julius. So yesterday we had a brand new song drop from MC One Love, which is Daniel Patterson. And a big congratulations to him because he'll be getting married pretty soon. So big props to him over there. He had a great song he put out, Beautiful Trauma. And of course, there was another song that was dropped 2 weeks ago from Julius, also of Rapture Collective. And this song we're going to play is My ABCs featuring Sapphire. So hopefully you guys will really... it's featuring Sapphire and the Melbourne Church, which is really, really cool that they're all participating in then. I think that was a great thing that they did to give glory. After that, we have Tecmo Plus from Japan with the song Diamond. And we'll end things off with Youngse from South Africa with I Call You.
If you felt the love of God, let me hear you say A for Amen. A for Amen. If you've been blessed in your life, I want to hear you say B for blessed. B for blessed. If you've been chosen out of love, let me hear you say C because I'm chosen. C because I'm chosen. Let's never forget it. The more we know him, the more we come to love him. So I just want to get to know him like I know my ABCs. From Alpha to Omega, you've been there for me. For the beauty of the love that you give to me. For sending Christ down to earth just to rescue me. That's why I wanna know you like I know my ABCs. You raised me up, miniaturized ambition, masterpiece. You built me up, broken pieces till I found my peace. It's clear to me that you're the one and only one for me. That's why I wanna get to know you like I know my ABCs. Yeah. Sing. I just wanna get to know you like I know my ABCs. When I listen to your word, I hear my spirit sing. I can feel my soul lifted up on eagle's wings. My purpose and meaning, the reason I'm living is clear for me to see. I'm mesmerized, energized, let me testify.
When I see the sun shining, it feels like you're smiling. The summer rays of your love, I feel it burning in my heart. When I call him my G-O-D, I know he'll always be there for me. Cause he got me like 1, 2, 3. No more need to have fear in me. My Lord gave me that victory. Can't forget it like 3, 1, 6. Like a heavenly symphony.
Alpha to Omega, you've been there for me. For the beauty of the love that you give to me. For sending Christ down to earth just to rescue me. That's why I wanna know you like I know my ABCs. I used to be ambivalent, a little bit indifferent to your will, yet you love me anyway. I know that truly made the difference. You made us in your image, yet we're so distant. Thank the Lord of my soul, he made a huge difference. Yeah. I just wanna get to know you like I know my ABCs. Yeah. God, please let me get to know you. I gotta know you like I know my ABCs.
When I see the sun is shining, it feels like you're smiling. The summer rays of your love. In my heart, when I call my cheek on deep, I know deep there for me. 'Cause you got me like 1, 2, 3. No more need to have fear in me. My love gave me that victory. Now I get it like 316, like a heavenly symphony. I'm gonna praise you like ABC.
The spiritual love of God, there's nothing quite like it. A love that does more than just moving your heart for a while. A love that renews the mind, heals the blind, and goes beyond time.
Change, go there for a moment. Change from it. Please, someone tell me how to change from it. I don't want to regret it. Happy, I like you for stand up again. There is nothing to be afraid of. It's shining. It's like a Cupid fired. It's a shining diamond dropping. Life is beautiful. Kimi dake shikanai kagayaku hikari wo all is in the sky. Don't think of fear. Change, go there for a moment. Change for me. Please, someone tell me how to change for me. There is always right behind the clouds. Nothing's wasted so far. Love again, because never ending forever. Keep shining. It's like a Cupid fired. It's a shining diamond dropping. Life is beautiful. Kimi no naka ni aru mirai no hikari wo unleash in the sky. Don't think of fear. It's like a Cupid fired. It's a shining diamond dropping. Life is beautiful. Kimi dake shikanai kagayaku hikari wo unleash in the sky. Don't think of fear.
And that was I Call You. That's Young Say from South Africa with that wonderful song. Before that, we had Diamond from Tecmo Plus over there in Japan. And of course, feature artist of the day, that is Julius Miumo. Julius Miumo from Rapture Collective, that's in Australia. And that's the song My ABCs featuring Sapphire and the Melbourne Church. The entire church helped out with that, which is super cool. All right. So let's get into some news going on around the world. And this is very, very important. as we are into day 2 of the 70-day repentance condition. And, we're not just praying for ourselves, our churches, but for our countries and the entire world. And we really, really need to know what is going on. So let's get into it, starting with some leaked top secret U.S. documents. So there was a dump of like over 100 documents of things going on in the Ukraine war. And what do we make of it? What do we make of these dozens of classified American Defense Department documents? It's like maps and charts, photographs, and they're circulating all over the internet right now. But first things first, this is the biggest leak of secret American information on the war in Ukraine since Russia's full-scale invasion 14 months ago. And some of the documents are as much as 6 weeks old, but the implications are huge. So it's complete. These documents have like timelines, dozens of impenetrable military acronyms, some of them marked top secret, and it kind of paints a detailed picture of the war in the Ukraine. So like one of the things it does tell us is the casualties suffered on both sides, right? The military vulnerabilities of each, and crucially, what their relative strengths are likely to be when Ukraine decides to launch its much anticipated spring offensive. So if you take the casualty figures, the U.S. estimates around 190 to 220,000 Russian soldiers have been killed or wounded, and the equivalent figure for Ukraine is around 125 to 131,000 people. So, and that's kind of also in line with the ballpark figures, but in both cases, the Pentagon says it has low confidence in the figures due to gaps in information, operational security, excuse me, and deliberate attempts, probably by both sides, to mislead. So we're going to get some more ideas of what's happening with these document leaks, but very, very interesting how someone would leak this, like top secret documents about the Ukraine war from the U.S. Which leads us into the Ukraine war itself. Zelensky condemns Russian strikes on Orthodox Palm Sunday. Ukrainian president labels Russia terrorist state in address decrying attacks coinciding with Easter celebrations. The airstrikes carried out during the Orthodox Church's observance of Palm Sunday, including an attack that killed a 50-year-old man and his 11-year-old daughter. Russia's defense ministry said it had destroyed 70,000 tons of fuel near Zaporizhzhia, as well as warehouses storing missiles, ammunition, and artillery in the Zaporizhzhia and Donetsk regions. Zelensky's remarks came as Ukraine's military reported Russian strikes across the front, with the fighting most concentrated on the eastern cities of Bakhmut and Avdiivka. Zelensky praised military units defending positions in the east and expressed hope that the next Palm Sunday would take place at a time of peace and freedom for all our people. Most of Ukraine's 43 million people are Orthodox Christians who follow the Julian calendar designed by Roman Emperor Julius Caesar, meaning they celebrate Easter a week later than the majority of Christians in the West. The Ukrainian military has reported repelling more than 40 attacks by Russian forces over the past 24 hours, including unsuccessful advances on areas west of the eastern city of Bakhmut. Right? So, that is kind of what is going on when it comes to the war in the Ukraine. Last but not least, there is a terrible tragedy that happened over there in France, I believe. One second. Let me just... my file is not pulling up. 1 second here. Yeah, okay. So, 2 bodies are found after Marseille building destroyed in explosion, right? So 2 bodies have been found after an explosion flattened a 4-story apartment building in the southern French city of Marseille. Local authorities said 6 people remained unaccounted for and that rescue efforts were ongoing. The blast occurred in the La Plaine neighborhood at around 12:49 just after midnight local time on Sunday. The cause remains unclear, but investigators are looking into the possibility of a gas leak. 5 people from the neighborhood building sustained minor injuries in the explosion, and around 200 people had to be evacuated from their homes. 2 nearby blocks partially collapsed a few hours later without causing any additional injuries. Around 100 firefighters attended the scene to tackle a blaze that burned under the rubble throughout Sunday. So, because there is a fire that was going on underneath the rubble, the fire hampered progress and made it difficult for rescuers to deploy sniffer dogs, although authorities said on Sunday evening that the blaze was showing signs of abating, right? So the building is believed to have had 1 apartment on each story, and city officials said earlier that the people missing included a young couple. So rescue operations continued into the early hours of Monday with the help of a crane and lights. So prayers go out to the people that are missing and, of course, people who have lost family members also. All right, so there it is. Top 3 news around the world. Hope it's something that helps you guys out when it comes to your prayer, a time of prayer and repentance that we're doing right now, day 2. So let's get to some sporting news. In the NBA, the play-in tourneys have been set. Right, so we have 4 teams in both the East and the West. Eastern Conference is going to be the Chicago Bulls, number 10 Bulls at number 9 Toronto Raptors, and then number 8 Atlanta Hawks at number 7 Miami Heat. And then what's going to happen is the winner of the 9 and 10 will play the loser of 7 and 8 to get the last final spot. So that's going to be kind of cool. Western Conference is finally set. It's number 10 Oklahoma City Thunder at number 9 New Orleans, and then number 8 Minnesota at number 7 Los Angeles. And of course, whoever wins of the 9 and 10 will play the loser of 7 and 8. And of course, the favorite right now are the Los Angeles Lakers. In soccer news, there is a huge Premier League title race that's coming down to the wire as Liverpool and Arsenal provided what could be the game of the season, a thrilling 2-2 draw. But it opens the door for Man City to catch Arsenal for the title. Right now, there are 6 points that separate the 2 teams. However, Man City has 1 game in hand, which means if they win that game, they'll only be 3 points away. Arsenal dropped 2 points in this tie. They could have been, way higher at 8 points instead. But now if Man City wins their next game, they're only 1 win away, and Arsenal will be 1 loss away from the league title, which no one expected to be this close. Last but not least, new record in the NHL. Yes, the Boston Bruins secured the NHL's record for single-season victories. Boston Bruins have set a new NHL single-season record with 63 wins, with a win against the Philadelphia Flyers 5-3 on Sunday. Bruins forward David Pastrnak tallied a hat trick to give him 60 goals on the season, second only to Edmonton Oilers captain Connor McDavid, who has 64. And I believe there are only 2 games left, so let's see what happens here. All right, so there it is, guys. That is the top 3 news in sports and from around the world. Hope you guys really enjoyed that. But you know what that means. It is the golden time. And yes, it is the golden time, a time of praise and worship to the Holy Trinity. Hope all of you guys are looking forward to giving glory to God and the Holy Spirit. So, what are we going to praise and worship today? We're going to start off with Ideal World 2, and then Life of an Apostle, and we'll end things off with One Love. So as one body of the Morning Star Drive, let's spend this time giving praise, honor, and glory to the Holy Trinity.
Let's all run, Providence calls, history awaits. Let us rise up and shine heaven's truth. Now let us go to the place where you're shining bright. Young people of today, young people come, young people come. It's the world ruled by the Lord, the new history will fulfill God's purpose for mankind. Now the words being proclaimed by your Lord here in this place. History is made here in Providence, the ideal world. Now the words being proclaimed by your Lord here in this place. History is made here in Providence, the ideal world. This is Providence, the ideal world. Lord, I can hear you, your gentle voice, so softly and lovingly calls out to me, speaking to me all the time. Time passed, and suddenly I see that I have changed since I have realized, and now I will become an apostle of this time. In everything I do, I'll do it with your heart. Nothing is impossible with the power of my love for you. Lord, I will become an apostle for you. Just as you desire, I'll empty my heart. this world will see. Heaven on earth will fulfill all God's wishes and dreams. Oh, heavenly love, how can it be? Trinity above, I'm going to live as an apostle, protecting the Lord till the end of my days. I'll live for you with all my heart, and I will testify with all my life. This is my time. Apostle, shine your light. Apostle, shine your light. I'm living for your will. I'm living for your will. Now I'll live my life only for you. I will testify with all my life. This is my time. With all my heart, I love you. Only you, my precious Lord. And I love this history, using all the strength I have in me. I will give my life to you. I will live only for you. Oh Lord, I love you so. Oh Lord, I love you so. With my heart and will, Lord, I'll always love you. With all of my life, you're my one and only love. Lord, you are my final love. I will love you, Lord, alone, and I will live for you. I will serve you and fulfill the Father's perfect will. With a never-changing heart, I'll love you faithfully. If my body died and perished 100 times and again, should my bones return to dust? Should my mind be lost and fade away? No, my love will never change. It will go to you alone. Oh Lord, I love you so. Oh Lord, I love you so. With my heart and will, Lord, I'll always love you. With all of my life, give you all my heart. I will give you all my life. And I'll love you, Lord, alone for all eternity. You're my one and only love. Lord, you are my final love. I will love you, Lord, alone, and I will live for you.
And that was the song One Love. Before that was Life of an Apostle, and that first song is Ideal World 2. And I hope you just really enjoyed that time of praise and worship and really prepared your heart for today's next segment, which also comes from a question given in the comment section from yesterday. And the question is about what is a spiritual love? Like, what does it mean to have spiritual love? And I think that's a great thing to think about when it comes to this week's message of don't think of the physical love, think of the spiritual love. So let's get deeper into what this spiritual love is. Now, one of the things I know that's very, very interesting about the English language is the English language is oversimplified in some sense. Like, for instance, when we use the word love, it's like, oh, I love chocolate, or I love skateboarding, I love basketball, or I love you. Right? And the thing that's kind of interesting about the English language is when we say these things, it's our love towards a significant other, a love towards food, a love towards a friend, right? And, it's all different. When we talk to a person and say, I love you, that I love you is much different from what we're saying to a regular friend, to a best friend, to your parents, to your brothers and sisters, and even to your husband or wife. They're all different, and to your children, right? It's all different. And the thing that I think the best way to look at what spiritual love is, like looking at it from the Greek language is much better because it does differentiate between the different types of love, right? There are distinctions of it. And the various words, Greek words for the word love, I think there's like 7 different types of love, 7 different ones, right? And agape love is the one that I really wanted to focus on. Well, I'm going to talk about 4 of them, but agape love I'll talk about, and it differs from other types of love in the Bible. And it is considered the highest, most pure form of love as a choice. Right? Not about attraction, not about obligations. What's the difference of that? Attraction is, like, oh, she's so pretty. Oh, he's so handsome. I love him. Oh, BTS. Oh, famous actress or actor, idol, whatever it is. And you're looking at them and that's like, that's not by choice. That's kind of like going by attraction. And then obligation is different because obligation is, you have no choice but to love because you're in a certain situation like, oh, that's my uncle. I have no choice. It's family, kind of different thing like that, right? So agape love is probably best described in 1 Corinthians. Right, 1 Corinthians chapter 13, which is one of the chapters on love, which, I'm you guys can read it on your own, but it talks about love is faithful, love is kind. Whereas it's from verse 4, love is patient, love is kind, no envy, doesn't boast, it's not proud, does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs. And when you start to read out 1 Corinthians chapter 13, you're going to see that it's not like that attraction love, like sexual love or stuff like that. So that's why they say agape love is most beautifully described in that. And I think that's one of the ways that we can understand spiritual love a lot better, right? Because God's love towards us is definitely not physical because he's a spiritual being, but his love is shown to us in his patience towards us, right? His love is shown because we can't physically touch, see, or hear him by how kind he is to us, the things that he gives to us, the things that he protects us from, right? And, God doesn't boast even though he can. God is not someone who's prideful. He doesn't dishonor people, but he wants to honor others, right? Not self-seeking, looking out for others before himself, not easily angered, keeps no record of wrongs, does not delight in evil, but rejoices with truth, always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. And when I hear the word always hopes, it's such a great thing because when someone truly, truly loves you, they always hope that the best things happen to you. They always hope that you'll get better and better, right? Love never fails. And when you look at this is like the spiritual type of love that we should be going towards, right? And, if you want to know the different types of love, of course, there are 7 different words for love in Greek, but we're going to take probably look at 4 of them, right? And of course, agape is the highest form of love in the Bible, or of all the loves, the agape love, okay? And the one thing that you want to know about agape love is it is sacrificial, right? Sacrificial love that unites and heals. And it's the love of God we see through, one of the greatest forms is Jesus going to the cross. It is sacrificial so that it unites people and heals people. And because of this type of love, this sacrificial love is a type that saves, and, it saved all of humanity in the face of sin and death, right? And that's why Jesus says in John chapter 15:13, greater love has no one than this, that someone lay down his life for his friends, right? So when it's agape love, the one thing about agape love is it is a love of choice, right? Not attraction, not obligation. And you can see this type of love displayed by the Messiah going to the cross, right? And taking our sins in his place. He's not obligated to do it. It is by choice. And when you look in, you're going to see agape love all over the New Testament. And you're going to see that the agape love is used most in the book of 1 John. Right? So it's very, very powerful. It's a sacrificial, not an obligation, not about attraction. It is purely your choice to do it. You don't have to do it. And that's kind of why when we look at like, say, like some of these YouTube shorts and stuff that I watch, is like these people that go around asking for kindness, and when they get it, they'll return the kindness even more, like drop $1,000 or drop and buy them a gift or help them out in their situation like that. And that is something that it's attractive to people to see how kind people can be out, even in their poverty, giving money to someone else who's in need too. So that's one of the big ways that you can see this spiritual love. It is a love of choice. This agape love is the highest, purest form of love, not attraction. It's not obligation. It is by choice. And it's sacrificial that unites and heals. And that is something that we do have to understand when it comes to the spiritual love that we need to give to God is not obligation. Obligation is, I got to go to Sunday service. Obligation is, I got to go to pre-dawn. If it's by choice, it's because you're choosing to do it. It doesn't mean you feel like it, but you choose to do it. That's the agape love. Like, I want to meet with God even though I'm tired. I want to meet with God even in this situation. I want to repent, right? Because I truly, truly want to, right? And I hope it's something that we can understand at that level. So let me go over some like different other types of love too that we can understand. Okay, so let's kind of go. The first type of love I'll talk about, but this one's not actually in the Bible, but it is something that is explained in the Bible, right? It's called storge. Okay, storge love, right? Or it's another word for love in Greek. It is the love of affection or familial love, right? So storge is based on familiarity. A person will love their family regardless of whether they are people the person would be drawn to otherwise. So family members often have nothing in common except familiarity and blood. So storge is a comfortable affection that can be taken for granted, but can also be very, very powerful. So it's because you're familiar with each other. We're family. So if we weren't family, we'd never hang out. But because we're family, I have that storge love for someone. Eros love is the one that a lot of people think about when they think about love, which is romantic love, right? It's more to do with attraction. And this word also doesn't appear in the Bible, but it plays a major role, especially in the Old Testament times. And Eros encompasses sexual, romantic love, and it is the root word when we hear the English word erotic comes from eros, right? And lovers are often completely preoccupied with one another because they're filled with eros love, right? And of course, eros is often associated with like sexual desire and lust. It's a very, it seems a little bit more like physical nature, but it can also be a good thing in a marriage relationship when accompanied by and bolstering with other types of love at the same time. The next one is philia. Like, like the Church of Philadelphia. Philadelphia is like the city of love, right? Brotherly love. Philia is friendship love, right? And this word is used in the Bible, right? And friendship, like when you go back to the Bible, friendships seemed the happiest and most fully human of all loves. Friendship. And this philia occurs from bonding over similar interests. Whereas lovers are both preoccupied with each other, friends are both preoccupied with the same things. Like friends, of course, care about one another, but it's similar interests that attract them to one another. Philia is the opposite of phobia, right? Literally meaning that those experiencing philia are drawn to one another, and phobia is you're scared or you have fear, so you're drawn away from them, right? So that is, philia is often overlooked in like today's culture, but in the Bible, it's seen as a very, very high type of love. And Paul urges believers to be devoted to one another in brotherly philia, right? Philia can be strongly associated with agape as well. And Jesus also said there's no greater agape than laying down one's life for one's friend, right? And then, of course, agape, you can define it actually with the word charity. Charity. Now, when you think about charity, you're thinking kind of more of giving away money or giving away things, which doesn't really encompass like what agape truly is. Agape is a type of love that is not about yourself. It's more concerned with the greater good, the greatest good for other people. This is what agape love is. And it's not born, this agape isn't born just out of emotions or feelings, familiarity or attraction, which are the other types of love, but from the will and as a choice, right? The will is what I want. So agape requires faithfulness. It requires commitment, sacrifice without expecting anything in return. And this is the type of love the Bible speaks about the most, right? And the New Testament, you're going to see it probably over 200 times. Right? So to the Greeks, proper agape meant like a general empathy, loving kindness for all people. Right? Now, in the Bible, it's interesting. Christians are indeed expected to care for all in the name of Christ. And Christianity took this a step further. And in the Bible, they use God as the standard for true agape. Isn't that crazy? God is the standard for true agape, right? And it comes from, and a true agape love is something that comes from God. God's love isn't sentimental, it's part of his character. So God loves from an outpouring of who he truly is. And that's why, 1 John chapter 4, verse 7 and 8 says, love one another, because if you don't know love, you don't know God, because God is love. Meaning, God is the source of agape. His love, undeserved, gracious, sacrificial, that is agape love. That is spiritual love. And we are to love God and others with agape. Agape is a choice, deliberate, conscious, striving for other people's highest good that they do better. And it's demonstrated through action. God set the standard for agape in sending Jesus, who died for us on the cross while we were still sinners and while we were the ones that put him on the cross, right? So this agape love, you want to know where like different parts where we've read about this love, but you want to know where agape comes up in the Bible. Just look at one of the greatest commandment, Matthew 22, verse 37 to 39, right? What is the greatest command? To love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, right? That is agape. The love used in Greek is agape. It's not eros, it's not storge, right? It's not philia, it is agape that is talking about, right? Loving your neighbors also, that is agape love. When Jesus said love your enemies, what did he say? He didn't say eros, sexually. He didn't say philia, like a brother, or storge, like a family familiarity. He says agape, love your enemies, and that's the agape that he's using there. So a lot of times, because when we read the Bible, we're not really sure what this agape is, but when you read the Greek, you're going to see that it is everywhere. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, what I just read, lays out the list of what love is, but not just any love, agape love, right? So, when you look at first, we read already 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 4 through 7. It is the highest level of love in the Bible, and it is considered God. And that's why reading those verses again is reading it in the agape level. Remember, 7 different words in Greek for the word love, but the highest and most purest form is agape. And I would say we need to study agape love a lot more, because it is compared to who God is. Agape is a choice, which means it is not natural for us to have agape. It's not natural for us to choose to love. Like loving your enemies, it's not natural to do that. However, it is natural to God, and it is an integral part of who he is. And this is why we need to draw closer to God, experience his agape, and then we begin to understand what this real love, this real agape means. And only through God can we show and experience this type of love. And that would be like, for today's practical word study, that is like probably one of the best and greatest things to look at, is that agape style love. And that's something that I do think all of us have to think about at a much, much deeper level, right? Because it's a good question. When we say spiritual love, what does that mean? When we think about love, this love is shown in so many different forms that, we may not even understand what type of, what do you mean, God, right? And then, something like the Message will come out and say, well, do you really know what love really is? The agape, we're like, well, I was thinking eros, or I was thinking philia. Oh, I was thinking storge, right? We have to think about it at the highest level, which is agape love. And I hope it's something that a lot of us will learn from. And it was a great question. What is this spiritual love? How can we love God spiritually? And the love that is used in the New Testament, because the New Testament was written in Greek, we see that many different words for the word love were used, but the highest of which is agape. And that's the one I think that all of us should be studying. So yeah, that is, I thought it was a great question. It's something that all of us can learn even more. Okay, so there it is, guys. That is the word study for today. We only worked on one part, which is the practical word study on spiritual love, or we can say it's the agape, but I hope you guys really, really enjoyed that. Okay, so let's get into the song of choice for today. And I found this great group called One for Israel Ministry. And they're doing this song called Waymaker, but the thing that's so different about them, and it's really inspiring. I'm so inspired by this song because they do it in 3 languages. They start off with Arabic, they go into Hebrew, and then into English. But when you hear, Arabic is like Jesus' language. That's what he originally used, was Arabic. That's the language he used the most. Hebrew is the original language of the chosen people, right? And these are the people, where when we think about Israel, they rejected Jesus, but here are these people from Israel that are singing in the native language. And I can't imagine how inspired Jesus is when he hears it like this. So this is One for Israel Ministry. The song is Waymaker. I hope you guys enjoyed. It's in Arabic, Hebrew, and English.
أنت هنا حي وسطنا أعبدك أعبدك أنت هنا تعمل بيننا أعبدك أعبدك أنت فاتح الطريق صانع العجائب حافظ العهد نور في الظلمة ربي أنت ذا الإله فاتح الطريق صانع العجائب حافظ العهد نور في الظلمة ربي أنت ذا الإله
אתה כאן, נמצא כאן בקרבנו, שאתה
touching every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, healing every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, turning lives around. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, mending every heart. Oh, I worship you. I worship you. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are.
אצלך אוספת שומר הברית, או גם בחושך, אדון זה מי שאתה. זה מי שאתה.
That is who you are.
זה מי שאתה.
That is who you are.
זה מי שאתה.
Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are.
And there it is, a very inspiring song. That is One Ministry for Israel, or One for Israel Ministry. And that song is Waymaker, Arabic, Hebrew, and English. I really, really was inspired by that one too. Hope you guys enjoyed it also. So now that we finished the song of choice for today, let's get into today's last segment of Provi in the Media. And I did want to talk about a bunch of different things today, but of course, I wanted to get into, this is something that we are dealing with right now with the situation coming in Providence. And the one thing that I really, really like is that there are a lot of studies when it comes to new religious movements. And the first part I'm going to read is not going to come from Massimo Intravinia, but from other people who are writing and studying about new religious movements. And, they have proper studies on it, and they're able to see what happens in these new religious movements, especially when it comes to people leaving, right? And for us, as people in the history, when people leave, we're just like, oh no, they left. But when you have people who are actually studying it studying with tons of new religious movements constantly all the time, there's actually three different types of people leaving, right? And we know, as I talked about at the very beginning, there is a defector, right? And then there is a defector, then there is an ordinary leave taker, just a regular person leaving, and of course, then there are apostates. Okay, so I don't know if I'll get all the way into the segment on the apostates from Massimo, but definitely want to talk first about the three different types of people that leave, which is quite interesting, right? So the first type of narrative characterizes an exit process as defection. Right, so these are defectors, right? So according to the studies by Bromley, let me get his full name here. His name is David Bromley, and he is someone that he did research concerned with how exit rolls are socially constructed, and his earlier methodology was developed by this guy named David Bromley. And very, very interesting. So let's get into this. So David Bromley, the one who studied these exit rolls, he says the defector role may be defined as one in which an organizational participant negotiates exit primarily with organizational authorities, right? Who grant permission for role relinquishment. Like, for instance, okay, I'm going to put down, like someone comes and says, hello headquarters, hello head leader, I would like to put down my role as, let's say, campus leader, and they negotiate an exit, right? So they grant permission for role relinquishment, control the exit process, and facilitate role transition. So the jointly constructed narrative assigns primary moral responsibility for role performance problems to the departing member and interprets organizational permission as commitment to extraordinary moral standards and preservation of public trust, right? So the ultimate responsibility for leaving the organization is attributed solely to the exiting member, right? And the person accepts that he or she was simply not able to conform to the standards required by the organization, and the exiting member had tried to merge into the organization but failed because of personal difficulties, right? And the organization and the former member negotiate an exiting process aimed at minimizing the damage for both parties, and it's expected that the former member expresses a certain amount of regret for not having been able to remain in the organization, and they still regard that organization as benevolent and highly moral, but they just couldn't hack it. That's kind of thing. So that's what you call a defector, and it's done in a very polite and it goes through a very a big process. Now, the second type of narrative of someone leaving an NRM, new religious movement, is called an ordinary leave taking, right? And this is the most common and the least often discussed. And in fact, participants exit a wide variety of organizations every single day, right? And it's not just NRMs everywhere. Any organization, people leave every day. And little is heard about the actual exit processes unless they are contested in some way. So non-contested exit processes involve a minimal degree of negotiation between the exiting member, the organization that they intend to leave, and the environment or society at large. You know, there's not much talked about. They just kind of leave. In fact, like if you look at just contemporary society, it offers a readily available narrative of how a person in what has become the normal process of moving from one social home to another in different fields simply loses interest, loses loyalty and commitment to an old experience and proceeds to a new one. Right, that's kind of what society puts it as. And in this sense, the usual narrative implies that the ordinary leave taker holds no strong feelings concerning the past experience, and since loyalty towards it has diminished and the organization has ultimately exited, the leave taker's narrative will normally include some comments on the organization's more negative features or shortcomings, and the ordinary leave taker, however, may also recognize that there was something positive in the experience too. And in fact, ordinary leave taking is not normally seen as requiring any particular justification, and there will be no deep probing into the causes and responsibilities behind the exit process, right? So that's kind of like the vast majority of people are ordinary leavers, right? Sometimes you just never hear from someone again. They just left this history kind of thing, right? And that's the vast majority of them, Okay? Now, type 3 is defined as the role of an apostate, right? And in this case, the ex-member dramatically reverses his or her loyalties and becomes a professional enemy of the organization that he or she has left, right? So Bromley says the narrative is one which documents the quintessentially evil essence of the apostate's former organization, chronicled through the apostate's personal experience of capture and ultimate escape or rescue, right? So the former organization could easily label the apostate a traitor. However, the apostate, particularly after having joined an oppositional coalition fighting the organization, often claims that he or she was a victim or a prisoner who did not join voluntarily, and this of course implies that the organization itself was the embodiment of an extraordinary evil, right? And having been socialized into an oppositional coalition, the apostate finds a number of theoretical tools, including powerful brainwashing metaphors, ready for use, which helps to explain precisely why the organization is evil and able to deprive its members of their free will. And it's normally assumed that the more controversial a religious organization is, the higher the number of apostates there will be. Conversely, highly respected organizations will produce more defectors and fewer apostates. And comparisons should preferably be made between voluntary associations a person freely joins rather than between denominations or churches within which he or she was born, right? So there are, however, several voluntary associations within the mainline churches like religious orders, lay movements, even the Roman Catholic priesthood in general, right? So although extremely vocal apostates exist among former Catholic priests and nuns, many of those leaving the priesthood or religious orders would rather blame themselves for their failure to meet the church's standards, okay? So, religious orders would rather blame themselves for their failure to meet the church's standards, but accordingly, they will often reconstruct their experiences through type 1 narratives. And this happens, we're told by some other scholars, because the Roman Catholic Church is a powerful, although of course not unchallenged organization. It is thus able more often than not to negotiate damage-controlling narratives with exiting members. And by contrast, organizations perceived as subversive, including most new religious movements, are typically less able to negotiate damage-controlling narratives with exiting members, thus generating more apostates and fewer defectors, right? So that's something that we're going to obviously see more, right? Because we're not that big and not that powerful, right? And this theoretical expectation seems eminently reasonable on the surface, but is not entirely confirmed by empirical research, right? So new religious movements are normally perceived as subversive, and they tend to generate extremely vocal apostates, right? So that's the situation we're in right now. And current research, however, seems to suggest that apostates may represent a minority segment of former members of even the most controversial new religious movements, and a large majority of former members can be classified as ordinary leave takers, and some of them even as defectors, right? So, even when we're looking at right now, we get to see that there's like these 3 different types of narratives, and, it's good for us to know. I think it's very, very good for us to know. I was going to get into the Massimo's article that he did on apostates too, but I think this is something that's very, very interesting for us to know when it comes to us understanding about when people leave, like what categories or what narratives, the 3 different types of categories or narratives that they fit into. And this coming from people who are scholars that have been studying this, right? This person it talks about defectors, ordinary leave takers, and apostates. Oh, sorry, this is the Massimo one. Sorry, I was looking at a different one, right? This was written in 1999, and he wrote this mainly based on he based this on people who were former members of New Acropolis, and that was another NRM that's in France. Right, but it's very, very interesting to see the 3 different narratives there are. I'll leave the link in the description below so you guys can read this paper also. But very, very interesting seeing the 3 different types. And I think if that's what's kind of normal, it's probably best for us to really think about these 3 different types of narratives and how to, end things properly and in a better way, right? So we don't have more apostates. So we don't have those situations where there's people who will become professional enemies of that organization they left, right? And I think it's something that we do have to do better. Like, for instance, when I look at some things that I think is very, very important, when we look at, like the different types of accusations that are coming in Providence, especially against Sunsteam too, like, who's to say it's not going to happen to regular pastors also, which means I do think we need to think about having better policies. Like, hey, we should always have cameras in the church so that no one's going to say, oh my gosh, this is what happened here. Like, I don't think that's a bad thing, right? To protect ourselves in the I'm not going to say it's happening. I'm just saying that it'll protect us where people say, no, we got the video. Nothing like that happened, right? Where, like some other churches, like denominations like the Baptist church, a man, like one of the pastors are not allowed to meet females one-on-one in the enclosed room. The doors have to be left open. People need to know what's going on. The cameras are moving and stuff like that too. That's something that everyone has to, that they put in a policy because you just don't want to go through those things, right? Where you have nothing in place, where someone can just say, hey, this is what this person did to me. And then we're kind of stuck because we have no evidence whatsoever. All we can base it on is what? He said, she said, what other people think of this pastor, what she thinks of the pastor, or people saying bad things about them. But, no matter what the reputation of a pastor is, it doesn't mean that they did it, right? And that's why I do think it's something that we have to really think about more carefully, the policies that we install in our churches too. We should, I'm saying that if we're getting these types of accusations, why not put in a video system, a surveillance system, right? That's recording, that we can get the information of what is happening so that if someone ever says something like this, what's going to happen? We'll have all the evidence there. And like I said, I'm not saying it's happening right now. I'm saying is, in this society we're living in right now, sometimes it's just better to be safe than sorry, right? Because as the church grows, we're going to have more and more different types of people. And sometimes you'll end up with people that might kind of do things with nefarious intentions, right? And I think it's something that we do have to kind of implement better policies. And I think it's just safer and better overall. Protect your pastors, protect your leaders, protect the members of the church all together. And if you have all the video cameras and everything there, it's going to be so much easier for, it's like, okay, when did this happen? All right, December 21st, 7 p.m. All right, we got the footage. So let's take a look at it. And I do think that's something that we have to understand at a much, much different level. Okay? So that is very, very interesting. It's about defectors, ordinary leave takers, and apostates. And I think that's a very, very interesting study. And I think it's something that we can look at and understand for ourselves better. And know, like, hey, the vast majority are just ordinary leave takers. They just kind of leave. But there are some that we can control and some things that we're able to make better. Either way. So there it is, guys. That's Provi in the media. It gives us kind of a little bit more insight into the situation that we're having right now. And I hope it's something that you guys will all will be better for knowing this information too. Okay? So there it is, guys. That is Provi in the media. I hope you guys really, really enjoyed that just as I have. It's just really good to learn about these things, especially for our organization that is an NRM and what other NRMs have gone through in the past. Okay? So that is the end of today's Tuesday podcast. Hope you guys really enjoyed it just as I have. Everyone have an amazing day, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow on the Morning Star Drive on 117.8.
It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and feel your mind.
I'm good.